Well, what's really good, LeSBP Trading Familiar, buenos dias, bonjour, bon dia, salbona, guten abend, konbanwa, masake, aftav. Thank you all for tuning in. So we're doing two videos today. This one is more or less about why I trade at the time I do. I know that I used to struggle a lot with trying to figure out exactly when to trade, why to trade, what time, what days, and stuff like that. And I feel like it doesn't have to be that difficult. Um, there are three main things that I trade, or three main reasons why I trade when I do, and why I don't trade outside of those time frames. So basically, I just wanted to take a look at the chart, show you some examples of what I believe. You can take it with a grain of salt. I'm not saying you have to do this, but for me, this is the three main reasons why I trade, after the 9:30 open, basically, because I trade from about 9:30 up to 4 p.m. I don't use like what's that called? I don't use any kind of particular crazy strategy, ICE or looking for fair value gaps or anything like that. I literally just use two EMAs and then I move on from there. If it crosses the EMA, boom, we buy. If it crosses up, excuse me, we buy. If it crosses down, we sell. For the most part, I don't use support resistance. I have started jotting down like the high and the low of the day for the previous day, but I mean, other than that, it's not really that difficult. So to me, keeping it basic, keeping it simple has worked so far. And I've always tried to keep it simple with my strategies. I don't like to have anything too complex where I'm looking for this particular chart pattern, this trend line with this support resistance and this fair value gap along with that, kind of with that Fibonacci. Like I don't use all that stuff. I don't even look at candle patterns. Like I look at no price structuring. Um, it's kind of ridiculous how simple my strategy is, but for the most part, I can definitely say that I like it better that way. Now, does it always work? No, it doesn't always work. I don't think any strategy always works. But at the same time, I feel like as you mold your strategy into what you want it to be, I think any strategy can work a certain amount of times. And if you can gain an edge within that certain amount of times, then you'll be fine. So let's jump straight to the charts, and I'll talk about my three main reasons why I trade after 9:30 open. So first reason is it's after most of the news. So if you look at most of the news, and I say most, it's not all, but most of the news, if you look at like the month, most of the news comes out 8:15, 8:30 ish. I would say 8:30 is a really big time for most of that news to come out. You'll have sprinkles of 10, and then if it's a speech, usually in the afternoon or evening, and then Fed funds along with flash manufacturing. But the juicy parts of the news, like NFP, unemployment, ADP, core CPI, PPI, like all of that stuff runs at 8:30. Now, yes, you will get a lot of volatility, and if you're banking on that volatility, yeah, that could be something that could help you out. For me, these usual speeches or the conferences and stuff that happen at 2 and 2:30, honestly don't like those days because sometimes the market can be really choppy. But I'm not gonna also wait till after that news every single time. Sometimes I do wait, depending on if I've like lost two or three times already, and I'm like, you know what, I'll just wait till after the news. And this is just one day. I really don't like trading at all. So you need to kind of figure out, all right, do I want to trade after most news sets or do I want to not trade most news sets? And news is quite prevalent throughout the whole month. So I think it'll behoove you to just get a strategy that you can actually trade during the news, or sorry, after the news. But for me, it works best after the news comes out in most cases. So I like 9:30. Secondly, because of market volatility, you have a good amount of market volatility because the market is opening. You have the stocks in New York Stock Exchange opening at 9:30. So you get a lot of people trading, you get a lot of volatility, you get the banks, you get all of that stuff. All those people are trading around that same time frame. With futures, you don't necessarily have to wait for 9:30. You could trade at 7 or you could trade, after the market reopens at 1800 if you wanted to, from 1800 up until the very next day when it closes at 1700. Of course you want to be out before the close, but yeah, unless you're swing trading or holding that trade over that closing period. But Either way, I like the market volatility, and I'm looking over here because I have my notes. But I like the market volatility after 9:30. And then the very last thing is the strategy works best between this time. So looking at your instrument, looking at your pair or whatever it might be, you want to look at when it moves most. When you have, whether it be price action, when you have the best price action, when you have the best support resistance, when you have when the Fibonacci works the best. Like you want to test all that stuff. I would say back test it, but then also live test it. You can use a paper trading account. I do that quite often when I want to test something. I will literally log into my paper trading account, and if I have the itch to just try something a little bit different from what my strategy is, I'll log into the paper trading account and try it out and see, if it works or if it doesn't. And that way, no harm, no foul. It didn't work. You still got the market. You still have up-to-date market information, market data, so you can actually see, okay, would it have worked? Would it have not have worked? And you can kind of go and dive into why it might not have worked. So I took this day, which was Thursday, just to kind of look simply at, how the market moves, and I can show you, why I trade my pair in that way. But if you look at like 1800, and it's not always this way, don't get me wrong, because last night the market moved beautifully at midnight for whatever reason, from midnight on into New York session. But what I usually see is, as you can see, there's a range. Like look at that range. It's like nothing out of the whole night. It moved what, from here to basically London session. It moved 10 pips. And like I said, that doesn't always happen, but I feel like it's not important for me to jump in through the Tokyo session, through the London session. And yes, London session does move a little bit better in comparison to like Tokyo and Sydney, but that's not when the biggest movement happens. It usually happens after that 8:30 news going into New York session, or the cross between London and New York, onward throughout the rest of that day up until the market closes. So there's no reason for me to trade this because one, either it's going to be choppy, ranging, or I'm not going to find a decent trade. So you have to figure that out with your pair. Does my pair move great overnight? Say you're Eastern time like myself. Do you have to wake up for London session just to trade your pair? You know, do you have to trade in the afternoon because you're trading Euro GBP or something crazy that is in like China or something, like you're trading the index for China or whatever? Um, you'll have to figure that out for yourself, because I noticed that with Forex in comparison to futures, it can be a bit different. And depending on what you're actually doing, Forex, futures, options, stocks, stuff like that, those have their own time stipulations. In some cases, like stocks, you can't trade, overnight. For myself, I'm a normal trader. I ain't got money like that, but certain things you can only trade throughout the day, throughout the night. You can only open certain contracts throughout the day, throughout the night, depending on what you're actually trading. So you have to look at that information too as well, which is an important one. I didn't even write it down, but that all deals with choosing your pair and when that pair works best, that time frame in which that pair works best. So as you can see, literally, 8:30 comes in, and it's not a bad time to trade. I mean, I could possibly trade at 8:30, but that's when most of the news comes out. I want to be in here after the news, not with the news, because I've never traded well with the news. If you're a news trader, shit, do your thing. I'm not telling you not to, but I trade better after the news. So, news comes out, boom, you got all this volatility, and then we got the market open and you got more volatility, which can help you, or you could possibly miss a trade. I'm not saying you're not going to miss a trade too if you wait until that 9:30 open, but for me, it works out best with the particular pair or instrument that I'm trading. It works out best for the strategy that I'm using. And then I don't have to worry about, oh shit, is the news going to spike the market up or down before or after I get in? I'm going to get in for a sell position. And next thing you know, this candle happens. Or you got in for a buy position, this candle happens, then you change your bias. The next thing you know, you're in for a sell position because you saw this spike and you're thinking like, okay, maybe the market is going to go down. The next thing you know, you get this shit. So it helps me alleviate that kind of stuff. But if you all have any questions, I'm not going to divulge my strategy only because I've worked on it quite a long time. And for me, to be honest, I feel like it's not perfect. I'm not here to, sell my strategy or to give anything away. I'm hoping to just mainly educate myself when I'm talking to y'all, because I'm not even trying to educate y'all, to be honest. I'm not a professional trader, so for me, I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing. I just wanted to divulge the reason why I trade the way I do. And if you have any questions other than like what's your strategy, you know, I use EMAs and that's about it. That's all I can tell you. If you have any questions outside of that, let me know. And any kind of video ideas that you guys want to see, or guys and gals that you want to see, let me know. I'm more than willing to jump on here and talk about it. So thanks. Hopefully have a good day. Peace.